Everybody, Andrew Cuneo here. Kaldheim draft has returned to Arena because there's going to be an Arena Open coming up, so I'm doing a refresher for myself to get ready for the Arena Open, so I thought I'd make some videos about this draft format. I did this draft format a fair amount when it was released, not as much as some other formats though. The basic key to understand about this format is the snow lands. There's a bunch of cards that benefit from snow lands, so there's this dynamic in the format that you need to draft specific lands to make your cards work, which is different from other formats. This guy is really good, but Elves is not that good of a strategy. This guy can be quite good. It requires you to get duplicates of instants and sorceries. Mistwalker is also surprisingly good. It plays a lot better in this format than it might look on the surface. So there's snow decks, which are mostly like blue or green based, and then there's white aggressive decks, and there's kind of like a blue-red giants deck. Those are the main archetypes. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to try to draft Elves. First picking this guy. Ooh, Realm Walker. That is a really good follow-up. Most of the Elves are in green and black. So if I'm really going to stick to this elf theme, green and black would be where it's at. Squash is one of the really good cards for Blue-Red Giants deck. Obviously you can play it if you don't have Giants, but it's way better if you do have Giants. It turns into 2 mana, kill almost anything, instant speed with Giants. And when I said Mistwalker was surprisingly good, part of it is there's a bunch of these minor tribal synergies and it gets all of them. That's really why it plays so well. I'm going to take Realm Walker. It's a great follow-up for the War Master. I don't know if I'm going to really have a deck where all my creatures are elves, but I can probably get to a deck where a lot of them are elves. White-green on the more aggressive side is also a fairly good deck. One of my experiences when this set was first released was I would keep drafting blue-black control decks trying to figure out how to make them good, and I could never figure it out, and I think it's just because it's almost impossible for them to be good. This is usually a card that gets splashed into like a blue-green deck. This is a good card, but you need a lot of snowlands to make it work. And if we notice, it's third pick, and the snowland is already gone from the pack. Every pack has one of the commons is a snowland. So the person on my right probably second pick the snowland, or somebody first pick the snowland. That's not that weird. The snow dual lands in the good colors are just very high picks in this format. Alright, so we got good black removal spell. This card, In Search of Greatness, is... I think it's this one. Yeah. It's really quite bad, but some people do like to play with it, but it is not good. Oh, there's even this thing. This is also a good elf thing. It doesn't work with the Realm Walker. I think it works with the War Master, though. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if I wheel a good card out of this pack. There's actually a good number of pretty good cards. Firja. Oh, that's not bad. Skemfar is the tribal home of the elves, though, and this is a pretty good card as well. I might just take this, rather than try to fit a third color potentially into my deck. I think I'm going to be green-black. I'm certainly not going to be base green and play a double white and a double black card. Especially because so much of the fixing in this format is tied to the snow-covered lands, and it's pretty clear that they're not going to go very late in this draft. This is another enabler for snow-based decks. This is actually a somewhat good card. It has this weird charge-up mechanic where eventually you get 8 copies of it, and it takes 8 turns to do that, so you might think that's never going to matter. But it actually does matter sometimes in games. A lot of the snow decks are able to use all of their mana, till very late into the game, so getting 7 extra mana sources from those, or is it 8 extra mana sources? I think it's 8 extra. That actually winds up mattering, getting 8 extra mana on turn 12. I'll take this thing. It's playable. It's not the most exciting pick in the world. Ooh, okay. These are some pretty good cards, actually, for me. I think I'm going to take Raise the Draugr. This is instant speed, get back 2 elves, or two of my elves are actually changelings, so I'll always be able to get those back in another creature. Let's give up on Sigrid. I don't think I'm playing with that. Here's another. This is a pretty good elf creature, actually. You get 2 elves. Elves is going to be like a kind of go wide beatdown deck. All right. Nobody took the Frostpire Arcanist. I think this is a card that I maybe overrate, because I was considering first picking it. I probably shouldn't wheel, but it also isn't a good first pick, I would say. Skull Raid is one of the best Mind Rots that's ever been printed. This Recruiter guy is on the clunky side. I don't think I'm good. I guess I could play him if I had to, but I wouldn't be very excited about it. 6 mana, 3/7. That kind of has his ability, like Vigilance, to 3 unblockable damage. It's a pretty bad card. I don't think I would Splash Squash, but maybe I would. Master Skald also is maybe something I could consider splashing. Ooh, I'll play Village Rites. I have a lot of tokens floating around. So this is an elf. It's not a great elf. This card is also probably like fringe playable in my deck, but I think I'll just go with the elf. It's very likely if I want a copy of King Harold's Revenge, I'll be able to get one. This guy is not an elf, but I've actually always liked this card. I generally feel like this is an underrated ability. It's been on a lot of cards, like a wide variety of cards across a wide variety of sets, but this killing a creature that was dealt damage and also just being a flash creature, it's like pretty good abilities. There's a lot of play to this card, which is what I like about it. All right, we got Blizzard Brawl, which is a fight spell. It's very unlikely I'm going to get to 3 or more snow permanents, just the way the draft has gone. I might just want this Elven Bow. This is not the elf land. The elf land, there's a cycle of these lands with abilities at uncommon that kind of fit with the theme of each 2-color pair, but they're for the most part not really great. They're like, you play them if you're those colors, but I don't think they're very high picks. I'll take the Elven Bow. Binding of the Old Gods is great. There's also this elf, which works with snowlands. I don't have any snowlands. I would still probably just play it as a 2/2 elf. And there's this elf. Oh man, Showdown of the Skulls is so good. I'm obviously not going to pick that. Binding of the Old Gods is a great second pick as well. This pack had a lot of good cards in it, evidently. And I think the person to the left of me took the Snowland. This Arnie Slays the Troll card is very good. I don't think I'm going to want to play a third color, though. I've got plenty of cards in 2 colors. No fixing at the moment, so that's not a great recipe. This thing works with my elf theme. I don't have that many payoffs for having a ton of elves. It's the War Master and the Realm Walker right now, and I think that's it. I guess Raise the Draugr a little bit. So it's between that and the Lindworm. The Lindworm is definitely a very good green card. I don't think it's a great green card for my deck, though. So I'm going to go with the cheaper card. Probably this is going to be a 16 land deck. Another copy of Feed the Serpent, a Lindworm, or an Elderfang Disciple. This is 3 cards, all of which I would be reasonably happy to play. I think I'll go with the additional copy of Feed the Serpent. The Rune of Might. This is a pretty good card. It's that or Snakeskin Veil, which I'm a Snakeskin Veil hater, but even I acknowledge it's, a reasonable spell. I generally prefer to just play more creatures and not play cards like Snakeskin Veil. This thing is pretty good if you're a red-black deck. Red-black is one of those archetypes that, I mean, you're supposed to be, it's sort of supposed to be like an aggressive deck. I think there's a bunch of Menace Matter stuff. The theme doesn't really wind up shining through that much. I'll just take a second Village Rites. I think Village Rites is going to be quite good in my deck. This pack. There's this thing which I probably won't play. If this was an 8-person pod draft, I would 100% hate draft Crush the Weak here. Hate drafting in these arena drafts is incredibly unlikely to matter, so I'll just take the Draugr Recruiter. This card is a card that people loved, but was really pretty bad most of the time. I'm not a fan. I'll take another Jarl of the Forsaken. I don't know if I'm going to want to play 2 of them, but it's not the worst. Should I take a Snow Forest? So far, I have nothing that cares about Snowlands. I could take a Lindworm. Yeah, I think I'm not going to even speculate on the snow stuff. I'm just not going to get to enough things that are good. Roots of Wisdom. I guess I'll play that. I don't remember this being a card. This is a weird way to dive into this format. Green-Black Elves is not a deck that really comes together all that often, so I've probably only ever drafted it once or twice in the past. This is way too late for a Mistwalker. I'll just take it. So, I'm going to play 16 lands, and I've already got 20 spells, meaning probably some of these cards are getting cut. I would say the second Jarl of the Forsaken could definitely wind up getting cut. Maybe the Masked Vandal or the Death Knell Berserker. They're not great. It depends on what if I wind up getting better 2-drops, they can certainly get replaced. If I get more good expensive cards, then I'll be looking to cut some of these mediocre 4-drops. So we have a dual land, which is kind of appealing. There's also Runed Crown, which I do have a rune. This card gets a lot better when you have a rune already. I kind of want to get a second rune, and I'm not that likely to wield a Rune of Might. I really think it's between the Runed Crown and Woodland Chasm here. This Casima is pretty good. I'm not going to play it, obviously, in a green-black deck. I think I'll just take the Woodland Chasm. I am going to be a base green deck that's trying to play a double black removal spell, so having good mana is nice. Second Realm Walker, that's pretty nice. There's a cycle of these equipment. I already have the bow, and then this one makes like a 4/4 menace zombie. All of these are pretty good. Like that. One of the reasons equipment is generally not great is that you kind of just want more creatures. A second bind to get the Old Gods. That's great. All right, so we're getting we're getting a bunch of more expensive cards. So I'm going to be looking to cut cheap cards. Even though the Strauger's Helm is a 2 mana card in my curve, it's really more like a 5 mana card. Do I want a Roots of Wisdom, or do I want a second Elderleaf Mentor? I think I want a second Elderleaf Mentor. When I have 2 Realm Walkers, I want my cards to just be creature type elf, if possible. I'll definitely take just Bear Sentinel. It's quite nice. I don't think I would play any of these cards. Wither Crown is really bad. People play this some, but it is not good. So I'm definitely cutting one of these Jarls. I could see cutting the Skull Raid if I get something else I'd prefer to play. With 2 Realm Walkers that I know I'm going to put on Elf, basically 100% of the time. The only thing I have, I guess I have a Jarl and a Lindworm, but I'm just going to, these are going to be on Elf. I really want to make as many of my creatures Elves as possible. Do I want a second Despair Sentinel? Yeah, I guess that's fine. Probably better than the Skull Raid. Struggle for Skemfar. This isn't a great deck for it, but it's gonna, you know, maybe I'll be able to make my Realm Walker a 3/4 and fight. Unless I play against an actual green deck. I guess the green decks and like red-blue giant decks can tend to have big creatures. The white decks don't really have big creatures in this format. Should I play my Ruined Crown? Yeah, probably. You can get the runes from your graveyard if it goes to the graveyard. The only time this card gets awkward is, well, another Elven Bow. Definitely going to play that one. Maybe over the Ruined Crown. I was saying the only time Ruined Crown really winds up being awkward is if you only have one rune and you draw it so it's in your hand. Or if the rune's sitting in play. Usually if the rune's sitting in play, you can get it to go to your graveyard by just trading off whatever is on. But you might not be able to cast the rune right away, which is a little awkward. I don't think I want more copies of Roots of Wisdom. I really have a embarrassment of riches here. Suppose I could cut the Lindworm. I kind of liked having an expensive card, because I am going to do a little bit of ramping with this Binding of the Old Gods. And I have the Sentinels, so I am actually going to be building up a fair amount of mana, even though I'm playing only 16 land. How many creatures do we have? We only have 11. Well, we have 11 creatures that count as creatures from the Realm Walker. In practice, I have more like 15 creatures because the bow makes a creature and the helm makes a creature. So actually I have a good number of ways to trigger the War Master. The Realm Walkers, I'm going to have 10 hits in my deck. Well, that's counting the Realm Walkers. So when this is in play, there's going to be 9 other potential hits. It's not great odds, but it's not horrible. I think this is the deck. In theory, if you wanted to, you could maybe fit in Ruined Crown or Skull Raid or a Jarl of the Forsaken or more copies of Roots of Wisdom, but I think I like the balance I've got here. No green mana. Oh, that's gonna be good. Alright, this hand's pretty good. I'll get rid of you. For people who are coming from, what's it called, Brothers War? Is that the current format? The Sentinel Stalwart is kind of like the Despair Sentinel. I guess the Stalwart is in some ways better. But I think this is a worse format for this guy. I wouldn't be that excited about him normally. Just the fact that it's an elf deck. And this guy's an elf made me more excited about him. It's going a little bit crazy here. So I do have another Sentinel in my deck. Potentially cast. Not today. No. I liked having that guy around. Get my tap land out of my deck. Ooh. And we can get rid of this Valor thing. I think that's really cool. I think I'm gonna end of turn Village Rites the Masked Vandal away. To spend my mana. Could have done this on my turn. It's not that likely that there was going to be a 2-drop elf there, but there was. Could have played that better, I guess. I think it's not going to matter at this point, though. This is a fine hand. This is not a card you want to play on turn 1. And even, I don't know if I want to play this on turn 2, because if it hits, I'll just wind up discarding the hand size. Ooh, Elf Mirror. I might wait to cast this to get full value, potentially. So I do think I'd be, like, the 5th land is going to be useful for me. I shouldn't, be all that willing to just discard it. Hand size. Yeah, I think I can afford to wait. And now it'll be the 6th land, but I am putting an equipment into play that costs 3 to equip, so I might want to be able to move this around later on in the game. So my lands will continue to be useful. I play the... Well, just I don't need additional colored mana. If you've never played with these runes before, they have this weird clause on them. As long as enchanted permanent is an equipment, it grants the ability to, like, it buffs up your equipment. So you generally want to do that if you have the option to do it. And I've got 2 bows and a helm in my deck, so those are the best targets for Rune of Might. I'm not going to feel like I have to save my Rune of Might to make that specific play, but if that option is available to me, I'll probably take it. This card winds up playing out worse than it looks. Like, it's a fine card, but if you first read it, you might think, wow, I'm just really going to have to kill that. And that hasn't been my experience. Like, it's good. I'm not going to deny that, but it's not insane. There are other snow payoff uncommons that look more innocuous that are much better than this, I would say. See if we can get some wisdom here. Got a Bloodline Pretender. This is less wise than I was hoping for, maybe. I was hoping I hit a green land there. Kind of disappointed. Is this every time? Yeah, so it's going to get big quick. That's good. This card's pretty good. If they can activate it... Which their deck is capable... They're going to be able to activate it, I think, next turn if they want. There's pretty good ability. Pilfering Hawk. Nice. 2/3 Pilfering Hawk. Didn't enjoy that. Draw 2 cards off of this? Right? Yeah. So I can definitely stabilize the board, but I'm getting a lot of advantage here. Gonna double block. They have access to 1 mana, which I don't think there's much they're gonna be able to do with 1 mana. If they have Snakeskin Veil, I'll be sad. Demon Bolt. Yeah. I guess I'm sad to that as well. And I would have liked it to work, but essentially they could always Demon Bolt the what's it called? The 3/4 if they wanted to. So it's like I chumped with my 1/2 for a turn. I think I'm probably not going to be able to pull this one out. The advantage they got from Path to the World Tree is too much. It's just when it dies, search your library for a creature toughness 6 or greater. Okay. I'm dead on board. I might have had to cast this. I didn't do the math. No, I'm definitely dead to that. Spurge Strider's a good card. So when I cast this Realm Walker, I'm going to cast it on turn 4. I want to make sure that I have access to a green mana after I cast it, because then I could play Jespera Sentinel off the top of my deck. I suppose it's possible I'm not going to cast it on turn 4. If they play something I want to Binding the Old Gods, I'll do that instead. This Horizon Seeker, you don't want to let your opponent just do this for free, for sure. At the start of the game. This card's really not particularly good. It's not the worst card in the world, but it's not insane. There was not a Jespera Sentinel on top of my deck. I'm disappointed. This card is... that is a good card. Pac-Man is also a very good card. Wonder if they have a third color. They don't. They just want the land. Oop. And I got a trick. I've been tricked. It's not bad for them. Hopefully they don't have too many more great cards in their hand. It's going to take me a little while for me to deploy my hand. If you're wondering if I was hoping to see a land on top of my deck there, I was not. It was not what I was hoping for. Alright, they at least can't get the Lindworm out of the way. That's a pretty good sign for me because I got 2 removal spells and a way to give reach so I can control the flyer if I get a little bit of time. Play this. I'm going to play this. I'm going to put the bow on it and I'm going to foretell this. And then we need my elves to start showing up at the top of my deck. I have 9 more in my deck. No, 8 more, I think. 8 out of 24 for next turn, so it's a 1 in 3 shot that I'll have an elf on top of my deck after I draw this unnecessary swamp. If they attack here, I'm not going to block. So it would be a strong sign that they had a combat trick. And I've got a Feed the Serpent in my hand, which... I can use to beat a combat trick next turn. Should I fight my Lindworm? Yeah, I think so. This dies if its power was 3 or greater. I get a zombie token. That's relevant, but I don't... Not so relevant that I'm going to spend 3 mana to move this bow over. I'm going to leave Feed the Serpent up. And I'll attack next turn with the Lindworm once the damage is worn off of it. That's not an elf either, but this is a card that I can clear the top of my deck to get an elf. So that's nice. Thought I was going to attack with this, but then I realized I wanted to be able to block with it. Why are they blocking with 2 things? Do you think the opponent has a master plan that involved dealing... Oh, they have Iron Verdicts. Okay. Yeah. Makes sense. Took me a while to remember why they would do that in this format. They haven't timed it correctly. A lot of people don't. You need to go into full control. Oh, this is just tapped creature. Okay. So that you don't need to go into full control and do it at the end of combat step. You just need to do it sometime on the turn. Snakeskin Veil, no. This has been like the world's least lucky Realm Walker. They just foretold something. This could be a very bad sign. I'm getting Starnheim Unleashed vibes, which I'm not happy about. Maybe it's just an iron verdict, though. Thing is, it's got to be a card that they wouldn't have just cast, that they had to foretell. Which there aren't that many cards that are like that. I might be able to beat Starnheim Unleashed. It wasn't Starnheim Unleashed. They would not have conceded. Let's find out what it was. It's a Doomscar Oracle. Probably should have just cast that one. This is a good hand. Turn 2 War Master into turn 3 Realm Walker. I'll take it. But there are a bunch of elf rares that are really good in this set. There aren't that many. I don't think there's a good payoff at uncommon for being elves. Like War Master's certainly one of the good ones, but there's a bunch that are really good. There's a Saga that's good. There's a Planeswalker that's horrible to Varkel, unless you're an elf deck. If you're an elf deck, it's pretty good. I guess the elf payoff at uncommon is the 3/2 that looks for elves. That thing's okay. I think my opponent is realizing it's getting a little ugly for them. I don't think there's much they can do with 2 mana. I guess they could have Blizzard Draw and they could just 2-for-1 themselves. I'm not surprised they didn't want to do that, though. Should I be willing to trade my War Master with their Sculptor of Winter? I don't think so. I'm going to put the Rune of Might on the Berserker. It's a little tempting to be willing to trade the War Master here because I do have Raise the Draugr. And the Sculptor of Winter is going to be a good card for the next turn, certainly, because it's going to produce a mana. But I know I have my 5th land coming up next turn, and once I get to 7 mana, this thing is going to be way too much for them to handle. So I guess I could have played the Rune of Might on this instead and gotten another chance at the Realm Walker hitting. Maybe that would have been better. I was thinking I wanted to get this to 3 power just because that would allow it to trigger. Alright, Seeka's Chariot is completely unfair. Do have the Masked Vandal, so let's see if we can bait them into blocking. If they don't decide to block, I will just jump with the Despair Sentinel and Masked Vandal it next turn. The War Master is probably just too juicy as bait. Block. Now I just have the plan of use Raise the Draugr to get the War Master back, and hopefully that will be good enough to kill them. I don't think I'm going to do it immediately, because I can potentially get a 2-for-1 with Raise the Draugr. And I'm not going to have enough mana next turn to play the War Master and activate it anyway. I think they might do something to kill my Realm Walker. I forgot this. This set has a bunch of really busted cards at rare. Unnerfed Asika's Chariot, unnerfed Auron's Epiphany. Alright. Going to mean I'm going to use Raise the Draugr. Do I want the guaranteed elf or the shot that my top card is an elf? I think I want the shot and my top card is an elf. It's a Lindworm. -1 token for me. So this ability is 7 mana. My elves get +2/+2 and Death Touch. And I can activate it with the Jespera Sentinel tapping the War Master. We'll see what they do. How I attack is going to be a function of, do I really want to be willing to trade Realm Walker in combat? The answer's probably not. Actually, I might not even want to attack at all next turn. So they can block with just like the cat on an elf warrior, and then I'm forced to spend all my mana. Maybe I should do that anyway. The crackback isn't that bad for me. Do I have to double block this guy? Yeah, I think I can afford to attack. This isn't the start of a good blocking plan. Putting your biggest creature in front of an elf. It probably wasn't a good solution for them. They have a lot of cards in their hand. They're in a lot of trouble. They have this card in their deck, which probably shouldn't be in their deck. I think I don't. What happens if I attack with everything? This would block there. This would block there. This would jump. It would take 8. Go to 1 and I'd lose my War Master. And I'd lose everything. Wait, this could block there. This would block there. They would die. Yeah, I can. I'll lose my War Master, but I'll put them to 1. And they lose their board. This game would already be over if the turn after the Raise the Draugr I just played my cards in the other order. It probably should have been clear to me at that point that I should do that. That, like, the 1/1 when I'm able to activate the War Master was going to be enough. Didn't need more. The only way that could have backfired is if they had had like a second struggle for Skemfar, and they had killed the War Master, and I'd never gotten to activate it. In that case, it would have been worth being up a card, for sure, if the order of my deck had been different. No green mana. I do have 3 lands, 4 spells. I guess I'm going to keep... This hand gets really good if I draw a green land in my top 2 cards, or if I just draw a black creature I can cast, which I don't have that many straight up black creatures I could cast. I have the Berserker, and I guess I could draw that 3/3 colorless, or the 2/2 colorless for 3. I think on the draw I would have mulliganed. So far this isn't going great. I'll take the hit here. Try to feed the Serpent. Any 4-drop creature they play, there we go. You're not the one. It's not a good sign that they're discarding spells there. It's going to be quite hard for me to come back. We'll get to cast 2 spells next turn. Didn't even hit a land. And we need 2 good spells necessarily. Do I need to gamble on my top card being a land? I could gamble on hitting a land off of this, and then play Mass Vandal and Berserker. Way to go. Tap land ain't gonna do it. Ugh. I have 2 colors of mana. I don't feel bad about my keep decision in that last game, or the casting the Roots of Wisdom in that last turn. I think in both cases, you need to take some risks in games of Magic. Oh, you get a land or an elf card? I thought I was going to get both. Alright. Probably people have been preparing their comments saying that I don't know what this card does, because I thought why do you only get 1? That card's... I knew it wasn't good, but I thought it was at least good enough that you would occasionally want to play with it. I mean, it's still probably okay in my deck, but it's not amazing. This is a card I think people overrate in this format. They think it's like a great payoff for snow lands. In reality, the fact that it doesn't have any sort of trample or evasion means that it does just get chumped a lot. very expensive to try to keep alive. Every once in a while you play a super long game where, you know, somebody gets to have this and 6 snow lands out and it actually does something, but I think for the most part it doesn't do much. There's also a fair amount of removal that exiles or... Oh, it's a big attack. I don't know what's up here, but I'll just take a hit and see what we got. Oh, they wanted a creature that dies to get mouse to handle that. I guess that makes sense. They're gonna move the bow. Bow reallocation plan. I always wanted this Raiders card to be good. It actually really isn't particularly good, though. I think this is going to be the turn that I feed the Serpent, the Ice-Hide Troll. And then next turn I'll play the fancy hat. Looks like an uncomfortable hat. What do you think their plan is here? That's obviously step 1 of their plan. Let me see if they have a step 2 that's a combat trick. They could have Iron Verdict's tapped creature, so that doesn't work. So they need to play a pump spell? Yeah. Oh. Okay. I got something going on. Okay, now that this thing has trample, it's starting to become relevant. They're heavily invested in it at this point. I think I'm probably going to lose to it. Maybe not. You just block it with a bunch of guys. They'll sink mana and they'll have to spend their mana, and then next turn I'll Binding of the Old Gods it. It does cost me a lot to do this, though. This to be in combat. Wow, this is a good turn. Getting priority. It might just be because they have Raiders card, though. Oh. I have an elf on top of my deck, but I can't really afford to play it. So I need to do this while their shields are down on their gigantic troll that they made. It's a pretty nice troll that they made. See, this is the kind of deck where it makes sense to play this thing. It's still not a great card in their deck, but unlike the first opponent who had it in, like they were splashing it in a non-white deck, you're never going to have double white to activate it. It was just, it comes into play tapped land for them. This deck can at least activate it. Am I destined to be an attacker this turn? I don't think so. I want to get a 1/1. I could name... I guess my Lindworm is in my graveyard, so it doesn't make sense to name a different creature type. That wasn't a great trade for me, but I think I wanted to get a second creature in my yard so that I get full value. I guess I already had 2 creatures. Maybe I should have done that. Yeah, that was probably a pretty bad attack. Holy cow. Look at how beefy their creatures are now. Gives lifelink too? I think I'm still going to be fine. What's this thing? Like, you can get it out of your graveyard? Another target aura or equipment. Oh, they could get rid of my back. What happens if I attack with everyone? They go like block, block. Block the 2 biggest. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 get through. Something like 14 plus 10. It's not enough to kill them. I'm not even actually doing that much because this isn't a elf. Could I have killed them if I played Binding of the Old Gods and activated? Maybe I could have. I didn't do the math on that. That probably would have been good enough. I should have done that. It is Starnheim Unleashed, an incredibly scary card that on this particular board is actually not very scary. This is a much better hand than my All Swamp hand. Take a black land. I'll take a forest. I think I'm just going to Village Rites away the Masked Vandal. Let me put in the Art of Binding the Old Gods and an Elven Bow. Yeah, this card, so it's just bad Anticipate. I cast the Village Rites because I needed to find some black mana. I drew 3 black mana in a row. Maybe it wasn't exactly what I wanted. 4 black mana in a row definitely wasn't what I wanted. So this land, they sack a creature and they get a 4/4 angel. It's not that scary for me. Probably do need to keep a Feed the Serpent to potentially answer that. Five black lands in a row. The good news is that when I finally draw a Realm Walker, Realm Seeker, whatever it's called, there's going to be a lot of hits left in my deck. Bad news is I might die before I get to that point. Six black lands in a row. What are the odds? This is sorcery speed. Ugh. That's going to be a hard card to beat. That has to be in one of my better draws. I think Realm Walker still might be better. Another Fang Disciple. My hand's still just a swamp. I pledge swamp every turn. That's all I got. I still have 3 more cards in hand and a Foretold spell. This is not going to be easy. I'm attacking because this puts my second creature. This would be my second creature in the yard if it trades. So I'm willing to trade. Oh, actually, I need it to be in the graveyard to get the sword. Right? Yeah. I think I'm going to get these two instead of the Lindworm, and then I'm going to exile the Lindworm to get rid of the sword. The sword is a pretty big... The sword is pretty scary for me as the game goes on. I guess I'll play this rather than holding it in my hand in case I draw the War Master. That turn... That went okay. Probably not good enough to overcome them having 3 cards in their hand, especially when they just have another sword. Maybe I can win if I draw like Realm Walker into the Elvish War Master. My deck still has a lot of its better cards left in it. It's the only thing I have going for me. And by a lot of its better cards, I did not mean another Despero Sentinel. 4-3, that's a little bit disappointing. I thought this deck was actually pretty good. I did lose one game to just not being able to cast spells. My other 2 losses were just to kind of getting overpowered. I suppose it's a problem with the elf archetype that there is an awful lot of low impact cards in my deck. Like that last game I just lost because I drew a ton of lands and mostly low impact cards. I probably should have played something else over this Roots of Wisdom. I guess the Runed Crown would have been a better inclusion. But that's a learning lesson. I think this would have been a better way to construct my deck. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll have a couple more of these Kaldheim draft videos leading up to the Open. And so subscribe if you want to follow my progress in relearning this format.